Hey everybody, welcome to Center Stage. I'm your host Rajiv, and today I'm honored to have Denis Vilfort, VP of Marketing at Plexi, HPE. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here with you.
And actually, let me correct that because Denis is no longer Vice President of Marketing at Plexi, which was acquired by Hewlett-Packard Enterprise a year ago.
That's right.
Now Denis is actually Chief Evangelist for Composable Fabric. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Now we got that out of the way.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. We want to be honest up front here.
Yeah. So let's talk about sort of the acquisition at Plexi and the transformation into Composable Fabric. Tell the audience a little bit about what occurred there.
Yeah. So what we were building, and the company Plexi got started by a couple of guys out of MIT who decided that there must be a better way to build a systems interconnect for modern servers and storage.
Okay.
And they had looked and gotten inspired heavily by things that have been done in the supercomputer arena for years. And then they came upon the idea that if you actually combine modern software with modern ASICs that are commonly available, I mean, these ASICs like Broadcom chips, for example, which we use, are almost everywhere. I mean, if you buy a switch from anybody, it'll have a Broadcom chip in it. So merchant silicon has gotten so powerful that you can do almost anything. There's an API, everything. So what they decided doing is, if we take that, because the network is typically made up, a fabric is not so much a network in the normal sense, it's a fabric made up of a bunch of individual switch ASICs. If you add that together and manage it as a whole through software, new degrees of freedom open up.
Okay.
And that's what they set off to pursue. And they started the company in 2010.
Okay.
And we were acquired just last year.
And mostly an engineering-driven company.
Oh, it's very engineering-driven. Yeah, that was like, another lady and myself were the only marketing people there.
Okay.
And then we have some product marketing and product management, but they were mostly tied to the engineering teams.
Okay.
So
HP,
very, very small.
HP comes along, acquires it a year ago.
That's right.
We were talking off camera about sort of the fact that HP, we started in a garage here in Silicon Valley, still has a spirit of innovation embodied in the company, even though it's 70,000 plus people.
That's right.
So talk to me a little bit about how that transition has been as now you're part of HPE, Composable Fabric, the spirit of innovation, and your role as Chief Evangelist now.
Yes, thank you for asking that. So the whole idea is, of course, that HPE, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, is a fundamental, innovative server company. We were recording this here on a Friday, just 2 days ago. We came up with the latest incarnation of the Rome chip from AMD,
right?
Which has an ungodly amount of cores, right? So we're innovating on the platform there. And what became clear was that as these servers are becoming evolving, these servers are evolving into supercomputers themselves, right? A modern server, 1U high, 112 cores of CPU, 4 terabytes of DRAM. I mean, it's like numbers I couldn't even have wished for just 5-10 years ago.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So it says we're innovating along that. The need to have an interconnect that can connect east-west or servers to each other. So the servers can actually form a loosely coupled, software-driven supercomputer, because that's what people want to do today, right? The data center is software-driven. People are doing virtualization, containers. They're doing software-defined storage. All that means that servers have to be able to be grouped together to do the job. Well, how do the servers talk to each other? If they do it through traditional brittle networks, you're seeing servers sitting there twiddling their thumbs, doing nothing. That's not what customers want. They want return on their investment, right? So HPE came and said, wait a minute, we actually want a systems interconnect. They've created something that was in the Synergy frame. A lot of customers are probably familiar with that, Synergy. But what they then realized was, well, Synergy is only a part of what we offer. There are a lot of people who want to rack and stack servers, and they want to do it like 10, 20, 40 racks for larger deployments. Why would they not have the same ability to interconnect the servers and form essentially a gigantic island of compute? And
fabric.
You need a fabric, right? If you have no fabric to interconnect them, you just have silos of servers. And a lot of customers were finding that to be the case.
Interesting.
So they looked around. Where do you get that kind of crazy idea? Well, it turns out that the guys from MIT had that crazy idea. So HPE, we were actually pursuing an OEM agreement with HPE. And they just said, oh, we like the company so much, we bought it.
Wow.
So because they have the Synergy experience. We call this That's a whole reason you see we call this composable.
Mm-hmm.
It's composable infrastructure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it was limited to the synergy frame where we can control everything in the frame.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, customers want that same experience,
Right.
but between racks.
Between servers.
So exactly. Racks of servers and storage, by the way, in the software-defined data center is in the server now, right? We still sell storage arrays for folks who want that form factor, but increasingly very powerful storage in a server, like four little servers, 24 drives across, all NVMe. I mean, this is like crazy fast, and flash not only is it fast, but it's also high capacity.
Well, and let's just take it further out. I mean, we're
Yeah.
talking about sort of the trends and where this is going 5 years from now, 10 years from now. This exponential growth.
That's right.
And so where do you see this going in 5 to 10 years?
That's a great question. I'll tell you, a lot of folks have been saying, hey, Moore's Law is dead. It's true Moore's Law has slowed down, and we are at 7 nanometer now when it comes to the actual ASICs. So a lot of folks, a lot of physicists have sat around and said, well, you can't really make it much thinner, smaller, and the transistors can't shrink more. But what we are doing now, and you see it in the latest service we're shipping, we're seeing a high core count. So core density per cubic inch is actually going up. So Moore's Law might be slowing down. I think it is. But the amount of firepower we can pack in a 1U high server, or even a 1U high half rack width server, is still phenomenal. And there's room to grow, right? So as the server gets denser and denser, if your workload is the same, you can have a whole data center in a suitcase, right? But what people obviously are doing is they're going, oh, wait a minute, I have fixed budget, and that buys me more firepower. So to answer your question, where is it going? I don't see the effective Moore's Law, what people can buy in terms of servers. I don't think that's slowing down at all. I think you'll see that going up, and it has been going up, and we all know Moore's Law is, doubling every 18 months. That's what we used to recite chapter and verse. When you actually look at the planning horizon, that's a 10x improvement every 5 years.
Right.
So just in 10 years,
is 100x.
that's 100x, right? So the choice really is hold my workloads constant and shrink the data center. Honey, I shrunk the data center, right? Or start doing things like deep learning, artificial intelligence.
Machine learning, yeah.
And that's another thing that's very interesting. These new platforms, they actually have increased room for GPUs. So the old days, the old thinking is like, oh, it's just an Intel processor and we're done. So this whole service is just a commodity. That's actually changing now.
Right.
Because you have to fundamentally change the way the server is architected if you're gonna get the density up. Right.
Well, we were talking about neural networks early on.
That's right.
And how that's been around for a while, but we did not have the computing power to be able to sort of facilitate the power of neural networks.
That's right.
And now we're seeing that happen now. 10 years ago, we were talking about 15 years ago, and now it's starting to manifest.
That's true.
We're still a way to go, I think, still have a ways to go. But it'll be interesting to see where it lands.
Well, I think I've heard it said that that when you look at modern AI, a lot of people are talking AI and they're frightened and so on. And I from where I'm sitting, it's a tool. It's a tool, just like the first monkey that decided to grab a branch and go, I can get that apple at the top of the tree, and that his family flourished because they were a little smarter than the average monkey. I think what you'll see now is the same thing here. What are we doing? One scientist I read, he was talking about, well, AI is really just curve fitting in multiple dimensions. So if you all remember back in the day, right, we used to have like least square method and all that stuff to find the best curve that could be traced through the actual lines, right? And then the thinking went, well, it's an exponential curve, or it's a straight curve, it's a log curve. There was a big debate. We tried them all and figured out which one fits the best. But what about no math at all, right? What about just fitting the curve, however crazy it looks, and then doing that in multi-dimensions? And that's exactly what AI is doing. And that requires compute power. Right? Lots of servers, so we like that.
We were also talking about sort of the notion of on-prem versus cloud.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about what's happening there. We were talking about 70% is still on-prem.
That's correct.
Or so 30% in the cloud.
That's right.
What is that looking like? What's the landscape changing? Why is that happening right now?
Yeah. So I think it's funny, you see these paradigms come and go, right? So we used to have client server, right? What was the client? It was a desktop or a laptop, and there was a server in the data center somewhere, and it was all managed by IT.
Right.
So what happened? Fast forward. So Steve Jobs comes up with the smartphone, right? Everybody has that in their pocket. We're all turning into IoT devices. Then we know where my car is. We know where I am. Right. So there's all that. Now my wife just got an Apple Watch. So when she's out walking the dogs, we know where she is. So there's the IoTification, if you will, of human beings.
Yeah.
So that's actually a good thing, but it does change the relationship between you and the server, right? Because if you're mobile, where's the server? And the answer is we're dealing with things at human times now. So human times, like a couple of microseconds, is no big deal. So I can easily hit a cloud. I can hit Google's cloud. I can hit Azure. I can hit AWS. It doesn't matter because the client server is now smart device cloud. So everybody gets hypnotized. Oh no, everything goes to the cloud, right? And they go like, hold the phone. I can tell you a thing that's not going to the cloud. Autonomous cars, right? You can't have them in the cloud. A lot of people are saying, oh, no, that's right, yeah. But how does autonomous cars and cloud then go together? Oh, they report to the cloud. They learn what they're learning when they're driving, and they squirt that to the cloud. And then that gets put into a huge neural network, right? And it gets squished up. The actual weights of the neural network gets pushed down to the car. So the car drives more safely, which is why I'm a big believer in there'll come a time when my grandchildren will be sitting around the campfire and Grandpa, tell us a story from when you were young. I say, oh, when Grandpa was young, I used to drive my own car. And they'll go, come on, Grandpa.
What is that?
Yeah, you're putting out a leg.
Right.
Nobody does that. That's too dangerous, right? So what does that mean to the IT classic data center?
The ops and IT.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So this is easy to say, oh, wait a minute. At one level, I'm being pulled into an IoT strategy. At another level, I'm pulled into a cloud strategy. And now there's nothing left. That's not what we're seeing. And you mentioned the 70%, right? So what is that? 2 out of 3, roughly give and take, workloads are still running on-prem. Think about it. If you have a manufacturing plant, right? And we just sold a Composable Fabric to Ford. Right, very excited about it. Right, they're using all the AI, everything. They're using it exactly as a supercomputer built out of off-the-shelf parts. Right. So when you look at that, you go, "That's interesting." That's all on-prem. Why? Because it's actually controlling robots. There are actually machinery there on-prem that the computer is helping. I can't have that in the cloud. I need to have it close to where the data is being consumed. So I see 3 buckets. Right. There's the IoT bucket, where I have to make localized decisions. A big IoT version is what your data center now becomes, right? Your data center is like the building is we do stuff in the building, right? We do stuff in the car, we do stuff in the building, or we run around and, taking our dogs for a walk and I want to hear a song and I can get that from my smartphone watch, And so it's a use case based differentiation. So if you just say, oh, the data center was the king of everything. No, it's the democratization of the data center. There'll be little data centers everywhere in your coffee machine. Crazy.
Yes, this is great. Great conversation so far. Okay, so let's talk about server utilization.
Yes.
So currently we're at what, 1 to 2%?
No, that we moved past that.
So where are we at? 5%? 30%?
So that's a great question, and many customers I ask customers in our executive briefing center and meetings with customers and so on. I was guessing, you see, that traditional networking, when you come to the top of rack and you want to go across the network, there's a very, very little bandwidth, and I can prove this. Because when you talk to traditional networking guys, they're not building the supercomputer concepts, right? They're actually building good old connectivity networks in the data center the way they've done it for 20 years.
Sure.
You ask them, may I ask a question, Mr. Network Engineer? How much top of rack oversubscription are you willing to live with? Guy says, 10 to 1. That's a good rule of thumb. And I'm arguing, no. You should have 0 oversubscription. You should have 1 to 1, right? I should have just as much bandwidth going out of the fabric
as I do
at the top of rack as I have inside, right? There's like maybe 32 servers or 16 servers. They're using the top of rack switch as a backplane. So if I have the audacity to want to go machine to machine across 10 racks because I'm running a big neural network or whatever I'm doing, I want that same performance touching rack 5, rack 10 as I do rack 1. Yeah. So that's a new idea. That's a brand big idea, new idea. A lot of network people, they like going, dude, can you ping it? Then my job is done. And I'm going, no, because that doesn't talk about how much data I can shove through the pipe at any point in time. So given that fact, now you know that background, right? What is happening is new workloads are coming at an increased rate, right? Every customer I ask is that workloads yesteryear versus today, faster or slower? They'll go faster, right? Do they live longer or they live shorter? They go shorter and faster, right? I go, next year, what's it going to look like? You go shorter still, faster still. So they need agility, right?
Sure.
So let's take a workload. If I take a workload and I toss it into my data center, which might now be 10 racks, just say that for sake of discussion, could be any number. What's the probability of actually landing this if you have top of rack oversubscription? A lot of people don't think about that, right? But it could probabilistically seen as an arbitrary workload being tossed across a bunch of servers. You go, I have maybe 2 servers free in rack 1, 5 servers free in rack 2, and 3 servers also in rack 3. But I can't connect them together because I don't have the bandwidth. I'll have to buy another rack, right? So what does that lead to? Poor rack utilization, right?
But coming back to that.
Yes, we come back to that, right? So I want to give you the background because otherwise my answer won't make any sense.
I mean, clearly, Dennis, you're not passionate about it.
No, I'm not passionate about it at all. I need to take medication for that, right? I normally say I take 3 Red Bull every morning to calm down. So check this out, right? So here's the interesting thing about this, is that if you fix the top of rack bandwidth or lack of bandwidth, if you give it all the bandwidth you want, then it doesn't matter where your server is. So your server now is 100% pooled.
Right.
So think about it this way. The best way I can give it to you. If I gave you
But how do you solve that problem?
that's exactly the point. So utilization. So you asked about utilization, right? So what is the utilization? When I ask customers, they go, my overall data center utilization, some racks are very full, some racks 20, 30%. And I'm going, 20, 30%? That's crazy. That's like I sold you a V8 in your car and you can only run on 3 of the cylinders. I mean, that's like crazy talk, right? Your return on investment, actually, you should be unhappy with that.
Right. Yes.
So sure, we moved from 3% maybe to 30%, but I want to move to 80, 90%.
Sure.
I can't. Because if I can't spread my workload freely across multiple racks, I'm stuck trying to buy another rack, which leaves the racks that could have taken the workload if I hadn't been top of rack limited. Those guys are just sitting there with empty resources.
They're still in their silos.
They're still in their silos. That's exactly right. So as a fundamental, as a CIO principle, silos kills your productivity. Silo kills your agility. Don't have anything siloed. Have everything pooled and under software control. Now, if you do that, you get higher utilization and you get
more agility.
Of course. Isn't that the game?
Yeah.
Right? More agility per dollar. It's really agility per dollar I care about. Right?
Love it.
So I cannot no longer. So that's the whole point here. Yeah. Composable Fabric enables you, Mr. Customer or business customer, to treat servers and the interconnect between the servers as one gigantic pool of resource.
Supercomputer.
Love
it.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears and talk about your personal journey, your background. You were at Sun Microsystems for almost 8 years.
That's right.
You were at EMC
for 6
years. So tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah. So my journey started way back in Denmark. A long time ago, I went to business school in Denmark, and I had my own company, and we did point of sale solutions for record stores. Okay. And I programmed it all because you couldn't buy that software back then. And we had a Nokia barcode scanner and the whole thing, and a little Novell network. So now I'm dating myself, right? This is way ancient history. Yeah. But it was run on PCs, right? And it was compiled, and it had a database, relational database that I wrote, right? Because again, you couldn't buy anything, and it was too expensive. So we did all that, and then through some friends and opportunities, I had the opportunity to come to America. Okay. So I immigrated in '87, and I thought, hey, I'm hot stuff, right? I'm coming from Copenhagen School of Business. I ran my own shop. And people over here go, Copenhagen School of where? What's this, a mail order outfit? So I recognized that the only place I could get a job was probably to leverage my computer skills. And I got an opportunity to start it was actually a technical support, PC-based technical support solution that they were building for a mainframe-based tax processing company up in Walnut Creek here in the Bay Area.
That's where I'm from.
From Walnut Creek.
Concord, Walnut Creek area.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you may have, but you were too young for that then. It was called Accutex.
Oh, yeah. No idea.
No, yeah.
Okay.
Out on Wicked Lane.
Okay, I know where that is then.
Yeah. So they used to, the reason they were there, they used to rent mainframe space from Monsanto.
Okay, I know Monsanto.
Monsanto, right? They're out there,
sure.
right? So, and then they had some they were big as railroad cars.
Wow.
They were these big Xerox laser printers.
Mm-hmm.
And then what they had was a remote data entry package, and it was done on PCs.
Okay.
So you go to your accountant, he would ask you how much did you make last year, how much deductions, and he'll key all that into his computer, and and then that would then be sent through modems actually to the mainframe and be processed, and then a courier will come next day with the finished printed out return. Wow. And as you can see, what happened there is we were renting space on the mainframe, we were renting space on big printers, but that thing got miniaturized, right? So a lot of people went in-house.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's business driving.
So you were there for a while.
I was there for a while.
Yeah.
I met my wife there actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's.
And what was it like being at Sun back in the early days?
So Sun was great because Sun's big culture was it was you know why Sun is called Sun, right?
Why is it called Sun?
Stanford University Network.
Mm-hmm.
It came out of Stanford, right? A bunch of people came out of Stanford, very smart people, and Bechtelsheim and the crew was there, right? And they had a very collegial, intellectual culture, almost sometimes to a fault, because they would have a lot of new ideas, and then when the idea didn't sort of pan out, they'll go to the next idea, and then end up confusing the marketplace.
Yeah.
That's what idea to sure kind of thing. But they actually was the first people to invent cloud computing, and that happened when I was there. We owned network.com. We were very excited about that, right? And remember, the network is the computer. Yeah. And here we are talking about fabrics again. So maybe there was something to that. Right. But the point really was, Sun was a great collegial atmosphere, very intellectual, very smart atmosphere. That all changed, of course, when they made a couple of, I would say, less optimal strategic moves. Ignored the PC for too long, for example, and even they entered it later. It was too late, and then they ended up getting bought by
Oracle.
Yeah.
Let me bring it back to your current role. So you're chief evangelist at Composable Fabric, again, an HPE company. Yeah. And so what does your day-to-day look like? I know you're out there talking to customers. Why is talking to customers important?
Well,
I mean, I know it seems obvious, but really, like,
no, this is actually a super good question. I wish more people would ask that question, because I'm an old school guy, right? My grandfather ran this shoe store, and he always said, "Hey, listen, Dennis, there's three things you have to do: treat your customers with respect, and always treat your vendors with respect, and pay your bills on time." Pretty good advice, right? So why would you treat your customer with respect, right? Why is that important? Because at the end of the day, the customer is hiring your product to do something for him or her. Well, if you don't understand what that is, how can you possibly hope to serve them? Money is a commodity. No one cares about the money. Sure. It's a value exchange, right? Yeah. I'm saying, so let's say I'm great at manufacturing shoes, but in order to serve my customers better, I need to upgrade my IT gear. So I call HPE and we figure out what's the best strategy for you for your on-prem cloud. Perfect, right? They're in the shoe business. They're not in the IT business. We're in the IT business. Right. But in order for us to help that customer build his shoe factory or whatever he's doing better, we need to understand it. Because it's like saying, I'm excited about the top of TV cable box. No, I'm excited about what's on TV. You know? Right. It's very simple. So to me, the fundamentals are still the fundamentals. If you forget that, if you think that customers owes us something because we are so-and-so brand, I think that's when people get in trouble. Yeah. They lose sight of the value exchange.
I love it. No, that's great. That's great advice. And the fundamentals are the fundamentals. I really believe that.
Yes.
Okay, so let me switch gears and ask you some fun questions, which I do with all my folks that interview. Yeah. Dennis, what's your superpower?
Superpower? Well, I think it is that I get very excited about an idea. Okay. And there's nothing better for me. I probably should have been a school teacher or an actor or something. Because when I talk to someone and I see they get it, the lights come on in their eyes, I go like, yes, we move the collective thinking forward. And I'm a big believer in the old axiom, which is we would do better if we knew better. So think about what all human endeavor is a function of their belief system. And the belief system is a function of the ideas that they find valuable. Right. So if I find a valuable idea, I'm so excited about it. It's a gift I want to give to somebody. It's a paradigm shift, right? And if I can get just 10 minutes of your time. I can show you a better way to do this or that.
Share your idea, make them a believer.
Yeah, it's not so much like, it's not so much you walk around and say, oh yeah, I got so many believers today, right? It's not that kind of evangelism.
Right.
It's more like you are sharing a good new way of improving how things are done.
Gotcha.
And when you do that, then you are actually increasing productivity.
But let me ask you, so how do you come up with your ideas? Like, what's the secret sauce?
Yeah, there's a secret sauce. Yes, there is, and I'm finding I've talked a lot to a lot of colleagues during my careers in different companies. I'm finding that there's a mechanism here. I'll share this mechanism. It's allowing yourself to be creative.
Okay.
And a lot of folks I know, they're going, I'm not creative, right? And other people say, oh, I'm super creative. But if you're super creative, but you have no medium for your creativity, you can run the risk of becoming sort of a nutty loner in a corner, right?
Sure.
You have to find a vehicle. So the vehicle for me is I use PowerPoint all the time. As an evangelist, you do that. And out of necessity, I learned to do a decent job with slides.
Okay.
So now I have an outlet for my idea. And now comes to a real question, which is, well, that's fine. These are tools. But how do you get the idea for what to put on?
Yeah.
Because here's the idea. Anybody can build a bullet list, right?
Yeah, anybody can build a PowerPoint deck.
Yeah, PowerPoint deck with bullets. Like, dude, it's like I'd much rather like stab myself in the eyes with needles, right? And this sucks. Okay, it's really a bad idea.
Yeah.
You should. There's a vision for how all this fits together. It's a picture. Then once you get the picture, you go, now I got it, right? So it's not block diagram and all that, but it's some sort of a vision. So how do you get that vision?
Right.
Heck of a question, right? So I'm finding is you've got to allow your brain is great at this. Your brain is good at finding patterns.
Okay.
Your brain thinks typically in pictures. I only met one guy that loves to look at a spreadsheet as opposed to a graph in my entire career. Everybody else says, oh, I get it. The two graphs are intersecting, right? So visual. Everybody, humans are visual, right? Since we were cavemen and women, we were walking around going, is that a tiger behind that bush, or is it gonna eat me? Like we're looking at, we have visual acuity. So you have to allow yourself to come up with a picture. And how do you do that? You don't force it. So the dumbest you can do is to sit in a room and go, now we have to be creative. We have from 9 to 2, and we're going to have a brainstorming session. I'm going like, that's a bad idea.
Does not work.
Doesn't work.
Because you're forcing it.
You're forcing it. You need to say, why do you, think about it. Why do we sleep 33% of our time? Because the little brain is sorting all this crazy stuff out. And have you had this experience when you've troubled with some business problem, or maybe a problem in how you build a dog house, or whatever it is? You solve when you're sleeping. So when you're in the morning, you're going, you're in the shower, all of a sudden you go, I know how to do that now.
Right.
Where did that come from?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, if you're religious, you go, oh, it must be the universe or the Lord that gave you this idea. I actually think it was the good old brain that was working on it. So give him a chance, or her a chance, right?
Yeah.
And the way you do it is think of so you like to cook? I like to cook.
I love to cook.
I love to cook, right? And I love to eat when I cook, which is probably not a good thing.
Me too.
But a bouillon base, right? Or anything where when you're cooking soup bones and you're putting in onions and garlic and this and that, and you gotta let it sit and cook.
Right,
you gotta let it develop the flavors, right?
Yeah, develop the flavors.
It's the same thing here. You gotta develop the flavor of your idea. By throwing some chicken bones in and say, and you gotta allow yourself, this is a big deal. You gotta allow yourself to say, I don't know how to solve this problem right now.
Right. We love the notion of being creative and sort of letting your brain do it and not forcing it. Great stuff. Next question. Do you have any daily habits or rituals that keeps you productive and in the flow?
Yeah, especially when I'm presenting. And it's gonna sound hokey and people are gonna go, I can't believe he does that. But Tony Robbins, right? He says the body can't tell the difference between reality and if you fake it. And you don't want to fake it. You don't want to fake a presentation. You don't want to come across as insincere.
Right.
But if you feel like I'm a little tired, I just flew in, I'm on London time.
It's going to show.
Oh man, and we were out late last night, and I think maybe I shouldn't have had the last glass of red wine. What do? What I do? I stand in front of the mirror and I yell at myself as if I was trying to convince you with all my might and energy. I would say, hey, I'm a great presenter. I'm a great presenter. And it sounds hokey, right? But it puts me in state. So when I go on stage, I hopefully are giving all the, see, think about this. You're on a stage with maybe 1,000 people in the room. That's, if you have an hour That's 1,000 man hours you're wasting by not being peak performance.
Right.
You can't have that. That's not allowed. It's simply not allowed.
Sure.
Because you're wasting these people's lives.
Yeah.
That fills me with some sort of respect. Right. I'm like, these guys gave time of their life to see me. So I better be on point. Right. Yeah. So I owe that to them. I really do.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So it works. It works. I mean, other people, I know Jack Lemmon, he used to go Showtime. That was what he did, and that got him in state. Yeah. There are tons of books
Jack
on
Lemmon
this.
was a famous actor back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day. Yeah, I'm dating myself here. Yeah.
Okay, final question. What's your, since you like to cook, what's your favorite food? What's your go-to recipe?
My go-to recipe, if you just cook something and feel good about it, I have to say it is steak frites with béarnaise, and I make the béarnaise sauce from scratch myself.
Nice.
And
you'll have to share the recipe.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, it's killer. And if you do it right, you don't need a double boil or anything, even if you cook on gas.
Nice.
Yeah, and if you do the steak, and I don't want to hear anything about well done, medium rare. Medium rare. That's the key. And on a cast iron skillet, it's the best.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of cast iron skillet.
So I'll give you a little cooking tip.
Yes.
So you know the problem, you decide, I want steak tonight or whatever, right? So you get the meat directly from the supermarket or whatever, your butcher cut it for you. It's still a little sort of wet. It's still a little sort of damp. And you go, but that's no good. And you go, no, that's right. That's no good. So here's what you do. This is my little trick for you. You get your blow dryer.
Okay.
And you blow dry the steak so that the top of it is dry.
Wow, interesting.
And then you just quickly with a little bit of olive oil, just coat it, and then salt and pepper it, and then bam, on a blazing hot skillet.
There you go. Every
Great
time.
Advice.
Great advice.
It works.
Great conversation, Dennis. I really enjoyed our talk today.
Me too.
We could talk for hours, I think, but we're out of time.
Okay.
So thanks everybody for watching the show today. I'm Rajiv, your host. Denis Vilfort, Chief Evangelist at Composable Fabric by HPE. Thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.